Welcome along. What a evening's racing we've got for you tonight. First of all, the Copa, and this is the first of a team series run by Ratio Racing. And you can see the teams on the bottom right of your screen there. OTR, SD Wasp, SDW is of course Southwest District Wheelers, and down there in Tunbridge, Kent, just southeast of London. In the UK, Moon Riders, Peddlers, Ratio Racing, all names you know from RGT Racing, along with No Pins, who make the skin suits, of course. Pokemotion, another popular name. Copa Hopers, and I think that's an assembled team. ECKD and Dirty Dan's race team, and I hope they're not too dirty in their tactics, and I'm sure they're going to be a lot of fun with a name like that. So what have we got to look forward to? La Copa, run by Ratio Racing. This is a team event, and individual riders score points, and those points go towards their team's total. So the winner will get 100 points, for example. The second place gets 90, third place 80, fourth 75, and it gets closer and closer and closer. And if you get down to 100th place or beyond, you get 5 points. Now, the best 5 riders count towards each team result. So you add up the top 5 in a team's finishing the finishers, and you aggregate those and put them in, and that's a team score for the race. So it helps if you've got 5 riders, but I suspect, like most things, there'll be the odd team that has a few less, and we shall see who turns up on the start line. That'll be a bit of fun in itself. But I think this is going to be a quite exciting series taking place over the next 6 weeks. And tonight's race is on the Leuven course, which RGT have put together. And of course, this is the mock-up of the course recently used for the World Championships. And here we can see where we're going tonight. As you can see, it sort of loops through the city. The city, of course, situated east of Brussels in Flanders, in the northern half of Belgium, cycling heartland. And we're doing 2 laps tonight, as you can see by the little white dot that's going around the yellow line around the city. So all to play for, and as I say, this is the first one, so it'll be interesting to see how this pans out and who are the strongest teams. As I say, there's a lot to play for. We know some of these teams from RGT already, and we know that they're strong. We'll know quite a few of the riders, so there are some sort of predictable aspects to it. But of course, you know, it's strength and depth that's going to count here. There could be some other teams with less well-known riders who sort of, you know, congregate nicely, you know, 2/3 up the course, or a third from the front, who score good points. Now, as we can see, 48 riders on the line. That is a good turnout. So we know we're in for a good race here. Some names I can see on there: Andrzej Krajewski, who I know quite well from my own races. Kadis Pedersen there, and the French rider Jay Collison, and Benians from the UK. I think the graphics on this new course are absolutely wonderful from what I've seen, and I haven't ridden it myself yet, so I can't give you an insight into how it rides. I should have done my homework on that one, shouldn't I? But I think the graphics on the clips I've seen look absolutely superb, and well done RGT for putting this one together. So we see down the list of riders on the left, there's some familiar names: John Samet, Alex Blazier, of course, the organiser of the race. And they're off, and we're bombing off to what? We're hitting 32, 36, 37 kph. Usual fast start, we're up to the 40 kph speed at the moment. Andrzej Krajewski up there at the front. Pedersen. This is fighting for position to make sure you get into the pack, I suspect, at this point, with Abel in the lead, and Ederdom now taking off at the front. I think there'll be a little bit of nip and tuck in these early stages. I don't think you're going to see too many breakaways just in this first stretch. We shall see as Ederdom and Rockwell pulling away a little bit at the front there. We can see there's a little bit of a gap between 3rd and 4th place, so there is a little bit of a break of 3 people there. Casper Ederdom there on 47.0 or 47 kph. There's only 2 out at the moment. So it's, I think they're going to get hauled back. The strength of that peloton probably means that this isn't going to stick at all, certainly at this stage, on lap 1 as we go through this quite urban setting. If you ride RGT regularly, of course, you'll we're used to lots of trees, so this is unusual for RGT and very welcome, I think, in their repertoire of routes. So the peloton sticking together, a couple off the back there, but I think they'll pull back, and I think this will probably be quite a cautious first lap. We shall see. I think there's a couple of inclines on the course, so maybe that will sort things out. You love these Flemish squares that they have in these northern Belgian towns. And Kade Pedersen, I guess, is going off the front there. A little bit of a break. We're hitting 47k PH, which is not a bad speed for these sorts of races. Okay, just pulling away quite nicely there. He's got 20 metres on high ball, and it's it's sticking at around 20 metres at the moment. So this is a little bit of a signature break. We're on a little bit of a downhill, hitting 40 kph at the moment, and the chase is on. He's going to get reeled in. Kasper Pedersen pulling him back in there, and sorry, Kurt Pedersen, I beg your pardon. All these Danish Ks confusing me. So again, it's sort of there's a little bit of pushing off of the front there. This one could stick, right? We've got about half a dozen riders now. If they can form a cohesive group, you might get a little bit of a break here. What will the peloton do about this? Right, so Kurt Pedersen and Kasper Heidemann in there. The Frenchman, Erinol, John Sammet from up there in the West Midlands, in the UK, of course. But it looks like this is coming together. There's more and more riders coming across. I think it's going to join. And someone's just gone off the front. It's Wouter Klaes, Belgian, in his homeland. Wouter, a well-known rider on RGT, so familiar face to a lot of us. I haven't seen Wouter do a lot of breaks in the past, and I think he's quite happy for the peloton to sweep him up. Someone else goes off the front. Now, of course, when you ride these things, if you do get ahead of... Oh, it's Feldball, Rasmus Feldball. Now, if you do get ahead of steam as you come through the peloton, you can go off the front quite well. But as soon as you hit the front, then you start getting the resistance. And 55 kph, not bad at all. I take it this is downhill. Yes, and that's the reason. I think he's going to get reeled in again, though. I can't see any significant breakaways in the first lap, at least. As the field tires, maybe, but I don't think it's going to happen. And again, you see as Rasmus gets swept up, somebody else goes off the front, and you just get the same thing. That as soon as they hit the front, it starts getting a bit of a resistance, and they slow down a little bit and they get caught again. It is very hard to stay out on the front on your own, and when the peloton's this big, of course, it has so much drafting ability that everybody gets swept along and the power is too much. So again, we're still in this urban setting, which is, I think, quite impressive. There's a lot of detail. Of course, I don't live in Leuven, so I don't know how accurate it is, but I suspect that is pretty damn good. So here we go, we're on a slight downhill at 0.4, peloton staying together again. You have a little bit of a push off the front. And it's Rasmus Feldball again. Now, Rasmus does like to do this. I think he's one of those riders that keeps trying his luck and seeing if one sticks. I think he's going to have a hard job tonight, but we wish him well, and it makes the racing more exciting if he does. Remember, though, this is a team event. So in some senses, there might be some value in teams, coordinating themselves and taking a few of them, I suppose, in a little mini group, because they might have much more chance of sticking off the front. But nothing so far has stuck as we go round another bend. Now we're going up at 4.7%. Now, if you can get in the peloton, these can become easy, but they often get strung out on these sort of runs. 7.2% at the moment. This is going to burn, and I think this might be a point where we see a few people drop off the back. You can already see the peloton there spreading out, it's thinning out, it's becoming a longer line. But remember, this race has attracted a lot of top-notch riders, so people in this race are likely to be able to stick with this. You go under the motorway there, around the bend. So I think we're probably not climbing quite as much at the moment, but we do have a breakaway. Hugen. Is he going to get pulled back? Is he going to get pulled back? As we can see from the aerial shot there, this is still thinned out. This is a critical moment. If the front pack can split the peloton, and maybe they have. We're just looking at this. I think there is probably a sizable split into two groups here. And I think if you look at the aerial shot, you can see who's in the front group. Difficult to count how many there are there. Maybe 30, so we might have dropped about 10 or a dozen riders, maybe even more, maybe 10 to 15 riders may have fallen off the back. And you can see in the far distance from that shot, as we go down the hill, that there is a sizable gap, and I think that might not be made up by the people in Group 2 now. Although again, this peloton isn't quite cohesive. I mean, there are still people, as you can see here, off the back of the peloton group, so it's not quite cohesive, but that gap is now probably too much. So what have we got? Something like, I think there's 7 riders in a group of 4 and a group of 3 that have been dropped on that climb, and it just shows how decisive a climb can be in one of these races. 7.2 is quite a lot, and you do need to sit on somebody's wheel if that's going to be a challenge for you. The moment you drop off the wheel, I think, if you're not a climber by nature, that is going to be decisive. Now that could happen yet again on lap 2, and remember that some of these who've made the cut in the first group will still be getting tired towards the end of lap 2. Now there are some people coming across to this main group here, and I'm not sure if they were people that were, I don't think that was the full 7. I don't think it is. I think it's another group. My prediction of that split last thing would be wrong. Let's have a look. It's there's still a gap there though. This is definitely fragmented. I mean, looking at the front, we've got Vora, Beams, Hedenham, Varna. This second group is going to actually make it back on, and that does surprise me. That is quite impressive. They have got back on. Well, that has surprised me. So the peloton looking like it's back together. They will have made a huge effort in doing this, and may well be victims on the same hill on lap 2. A couple of the Southborough Wheelers guys there, Gersh and Barrett, just getting back on. Lovely little club. I say little club, I think they're a decent sized club actually. They're a great club, the Southborough District Wheelers, or SD Wasps. They have various teams, SD Wasps, SDBs. You can see here Dave Bagg, Julian Fussell, Warren Gardner, Premont Gersh and Greg Barnett. Greg Barnett, of course, one of those that I just mentioned. And we can see him highlighted just on the back of the main peloton there with Gersh. Polish rider just behind. Well done, guys. Southborough. A lot of these teams, if you're not aware, are made up of people who've basically united by getting to know each other on RGT races. They've got in contact and formed teams. So many of the teams are quite international. And you have to give full credit to Southborough here, because they are actually a local cycling club, and all the riders riding for them are from their cycling club, unlike most of the teams. So the fact that they can get up here and compete is absolutely fantastic, and we salute you. John Sammer is bursting away. The man from Staffordshire in northwestern England is making a little bit of break for it. Will it stick? I definitely think there are people in that peloton who are probably struggling a little bit, because it isn't quite as cohesive and bunched as it has been earlier on in the race, but John's been caught. Moon Riders, here we see Timo Ackenbach from Germany, Wouter Claes, who we mentioned earlier, who did a little bit of a break, Jonathan Stevens and Henry Farrell, Star Riders. I would explain that we teams are up to 8 people. You don't have to have all 8 riders in a race. And Gringo going off the front there, Rockwell chasing him. But you don't have to have all 8 riders in one race. You should have at least 4. So you won't see every rider and from every team in this race, and you won't necessarily see the ones that are in the pictures, because those are the pictures we have available. Pedlars, Daniel Nujbel, very nice chap. I've been in contact with him a few times because he's won prizes from me that I've posted over to him. Jez Reed, John Beams and Kenneth Fancina making up the Pedlars, a familiar name. Now look at this. This is a little bit of a good break here. 5 riders. John Summit, Rockwell and somebody else coming across here now. This is interesting. This is interesting because this is a concerted effort by a group of riders. This isn't the solo rider. And look how it's strung everything out. Now this isn't one big mass peloton catching up. This is strung out, and this could be very decisive. And we are now at 9.2% on this climb again. It's the climbs that are splitting this up, and they got some decent percentages there. Okay, it's 4.7 now. It's 2 distinct groups, although they do appear to be sort of merging in a long strung out fashion. And I think we're at 7.1%. This is quite steep. I think again we'll see some effects of this as we go up it. It's Varna, the Belgian, in the lead there. OTR, another familiar team. James Ogilvie, we all know him from the Facebook pages of RGT. A bit of a star on the scene. Keith Aitchinson and Peter Wavell. Varna still going off the front here. A couple of Belgians at the front, Wouter Claes as well, and Daniel Cadiz in that group as well. Ratio Racing. The Ratio Racing are going to be the team winners of the West London Series, which is the second part of this broadcast, and we'll be commentating on after this race. Nick Greenhalgh, I think, is not in this race because he will be competing for first place in individual classification in the follow-up race, the West London Series 3 final race. Joris Scheppers and Alex Plager. Alex Plager, the organiser of this series, and he again is one of those names that we all know and familiar with on RGT because he does so much for this scene, and to be applauded for putting this one together. I think it's a fantastic concept, and well done, Alex. So we're looking at this front group here. I mean, it's definitely thinned, and oh, it's kicking the messages up. Go, go, go! ECKD. Oh, DK, sorry. Full speed. Well, we wish everybody well, and we can see though that there is definitely now a front group. But remember, this is a team. This is a team race. So if you've got one more leader in the group race, it might not be that significant compared to somebody who might have 2 or 3 riders in that group. I'm not sure that they all necessarily wear the same jerseys, but you can see there's several sort of yellow jerseys there, which we'll assume is one of the teams. And certain teams do make a point of wearing certain kits so that you can tell who they are, and we'll try and spot some of those as we go through. So in first place, it's Highball, and Varna's up there with him. Daniel Cadiz, I can see. Andrzej Kajewski is the Pole who lives in Manchester, is still up there with the group. Great lad. Raced with him many times, a proper gentleman too. John Samat, Polak's in there, and Burns. So what have we got here? Something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, maybe 20 riders. Remember, there are 48 starters. There are 48 still on the course, and nobody's had a techanical yet. A techanical is the basically the sort of word we use in place of mechanical, because of course usually a techanical is because your connection's been lost or something like that, or some other glitch on your computer. So 48 riders still on the course, no mechanicals, which is great news. It can spoil an evening when that sort of thing happens, even if it's temporary and you lose a few places. So Kada Aluni and Kurt Hebden are away up the front there. Kada's certainly a strong rider. I've seen him win races on RGT before now. In fact, I think this is quite a pedigree lineup in this this event anyway. I mean, these are the best teams, and you know, a lot of the best riders have gravitated towards them. So yeah, stellar lineup. You should be enjoying this one, and the graphics from RGT, perfect. So Daniel Cadiz taking a little spin on the front there with Clays, and I'm assuming that the little group we just saw must be behind these. So there's already some subgroups appearing, but as we know, there are only probably 20 or 25 riders in this front group. So with, you know, it's already whittled itself down. What we can't really tell from the pictures is how well the teams are doing. Now, for example, you see the orange helmet in the bottom right of your corner. That's a Ratio Racing jersey, and the orange helmets will be Ratio Racing riders. You can see another one just behind there, and I think you see the green Wouter Clays jersey there. Again, is a team jersey, and you can tell. So, for example, the GBR one there clearly isn't one of the teams in this race. And so I think Wouter Clays, it's a Moonriders jersey, isn't it? So that's Moonriders jersey. If you see that's a green stripe across the Rasmus Feldball, as I said, he does like to take a turn on the front. He's quite an aggressive rider, and when it works well. And we saw that superbly a couple of weeks ago in the West London racing, where he was phenomenal, really. So here he goes again. Can he make this one stick? Of course, we're 17.4 kilometres from the finish, so we're nearly halfway in this 30k race. It's probably a bit early to do that, but again, you know, sometimes these little ways can break the field, and we saw this a bit with Julian Alaphilippe in the World Championship over the weekend. Where gradually, you know, after 3 attacks, the third attack worked for him. So Wouter Clays off the front again here. Andrei Kajewski just with him there. And it's Trijan. Trijan is off the front at the moment in that yellow and blue kit. French rider. And he's got 22 metres on the pack at the moment. Again, I think it's another one of these little prods that's probably not going to stick, but let's see. Sooner or later. And as I say, attritionally, they can wear down the weaker riders in the bunch. So, you know, you can eliminate people even if you're not going to win the race yourself. So I think there's 6 races in this series, and I suspect the teams will be putting in different riders for each race. Accordingly, you're going to get to see as we go through the Flamme Rouge for the first time. Now we've got, so this will be the end of lap 1 at the end of this kilometre. Let me do it all again. So look out for the climbs. It was the climbs, the 2 or 3 climbs that we've got where things splintered, and if they splinter any more, you're going to start getting a winning pack, and I think we can look forward to a sprint finish from a smaller group at the last knock-ins. John Beam's being profiled here, knocking out 39.5, 40 kph, cadence of 105 and heart rate of 171. Watts hitting about 5, or just nearly 500 there. G. Grinjo, Wouter Clays, Jonathan Beams taking up the front slots at the moment. This is strung out. This is not the most efficient racing. I mean, you really need to be bunched to get the best efficiency, although you will get some efficiency even in this strung out group. So we're into the second lap. and we've got 15.5 kilometres to go. I'll say that the second lap's probably just after this this banner, I should suggest, but yeah, we've got halfway to go, and I think the winners are certainly going to come from the groups we're looking at the front here, but the reality is that I think those two climbs are going to fracture this even more, and you can see it's just so strung out that people are fighting to stay on here. So just a quick reminder of the course there, as we saw a little bit of the course. Now we see Injo and Headwall strung out at the front, but it's coming back together again. I mean, this early part of the course was reasonably flat, so perhaps that strung out sort of feature that we were seeing towards the end of the lap is. Now look at the profile. You can see where the hills are. There's sort of 2 or 3 sort of major climbs, if you can put it that way. And they do hit gradients. I think we saw the hardest one was about 9.8%. So you know, that's quite tough going. And just as they sort of come towards the end, it goes up a little bit. So you know, it's a little bit choppy. But I think the profile accentuates the hills a little bit. It's certainly been the case in my experience that sometimes the profile looks harder than when you actually ride these races. Unfortunately, I haven't ridden this course yet, so I can't honestly tell you, which is a shame. Just been too busy with lots of other things. So here we are. We've got the bunch. So it's about 20 riders. So yeah. John Beam's still off the front there. The gradient's sort of a little bit choppy, but if you look in the top right hand corner, the little circle with the green bottom, that will give you the gradient at any given time. So we're at -1 and hitting 42 kph, which is possibly about right for an RGT race on a very marginal downhill. Really going off the front there, taking a little prod. You're going to have to hold on for another 13.7 kilometres, which I think is a tall order. But you never know. The peloton start looking at each other and seeing who's going to do the chase. Hitting 40 kph, 157 heart rate and 87 cadence. Not a high cadence. I say that because it's about what I do, and everybody tells me I've got a slow cadence. And I think it's unlikely that will hold. But nevertheless, a good break, and this is what makes it exciting. The little prods that people have at the front. You know, we all enjoy a breakaway, don't we? And we like to see the breakaway win. So Beam's coming across now. Is that solo or no? It's bringing other people with him. So John Sammett's in there as well in the Great Britain jersey. Alex Rockwell is coming across too. So I think this is going to all come together. The Ratio boys now in the mix. Alex Plaisir there putting in a little bit of spurt to get across, and Andrei Krajewski is the next one to show. Although he's getting passed by Feldball, who uncharacteristically is not at the front. But this could be one of his little breakaways. No, not this time. He's going to settle in with the pack. So we can see from front to back of that little group, the first 12, it's just a 7, and here come the next bunch, and it's probably all back together again with around 20 riders on in that front group. You can see from the aerial shot there, it's not tightly packed as a bunch. I mean, it is a little bit strung out, but I think this is going to be sort of fine for a little while, and the next hill will string it out again. What may well happen on lap 2 is that we lose 2 or 3 riders on each of the really steep hills to whittle it down to a bunch sprint of around 15 riders, I would guess. That'd be my prediction. If I was any good at predicting, I'd be a rich man because I would have won lots of lotteries and other sporting bets. But so don't hang on anything I'm telling you. So here we go. We've still got a bunch of around 6, 9, 12. Yeah, it's around 20 riders still. It hasn't really shifted, but I think it will on this lap. I think we'll lose 2 or 3, maybe even as 5 on the hills this time round. Let's see what happens, and then I think we'll be in for an exciting bunch sprint finish. Now, if you've ever ridden these RGT races, the bunch sprints, you have to be quite experienced and understanding of how it all works and how to position yourself. And it's all about the timing of hitting the front. You need to hit the front on the line. Now, I have no skill in this area at all. Ned Bowen is the king as far as I'm concerned. And Rasmus Feldbull does it again. This is one of the most entertaining riders you'll ever see on RGT. This guy is absolutely fantastic. I say that Johan Orlofsson and his team from South Africa and New Zealand are also like that as well. They're great entertainers. And yep, Varna's now up with Feldbull, so he hasn't got away yet again. But he's one of the guys that just makes these races fantastic. And in fact, the Danish riders are pretty good overall. You know, there's a few of them in this race, and they're names that you will see at the front of many an RGT race. So it's very marginally going uphill at 1.3. It's moving up 2% gradient now, and 2.8. It's beginning to lift, and Varna's gone off. Can he make this one stick? He's got something like 12 meters, 10 or 12 meters as we hit the 7.2% bit. Now, this is Belgium. You get very. I don't want to sort of stereotype the whole of Belgium because I've ridden in Flanders and Wallonia, and but the Flandrian area it tends to have these sort of short, sharp climbs, and you know about them when you're going up them, but they don't last forever. As you can see, 5-6%, and Varna's made this stick. He has now got something like 50 meters on the peloton. This could be critical. Feldbull's he's not far. This is interesting. Now it flattens out a little bit here. We're down to 4%. Daniel Cadiz now taking up second spot. But if you look at the gaps on the left-hand side there, you'll see that there's some terrific margins. Varna has got away big time. He has got away big time. Just look at that. In fact, if he looks over his shoulder, he's not even going to see anybody. We are now talking over 100 meters. So Daniel Cadiz and Rasmus Feldbull leading the chase back, but the chase back itself might actually split the following group, and you can see that there seems to be a gap there, but I think it's going to be chased down. 125 meters now for Varna. This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. Look at that. You look back, you can't even see. Ned Bowen chipping in with a few comments there. Well, good luck tonight, Ned. You're looking forward to the next race, and yeah, you're right. It's a strong group here, and hopefully you and Nick will have a really good tussle in the next race. So if you're watching this, stay tuned. Ned Bowen and Nick Greenhalgh from London, Ned's from Chicago, of course, are facing off in race 3.13. That's the final race of West London VR Series 3. They are separated by 1 point. So, in actual fact, because of the way the tiebreaker is, Ned needs to beat Nick by 2 places to win the title. If he doesn't, Nick will hold the title. It's that close. It's really exciting. So you look a bit further back. So that's 19. We're down to 19, place 19 by the looks of it. So again, my calculation of about 20. Varna's still way ahead here, 118. Closing a little bit, but not a lot. This is quite a push. 8.6 kilometres to go and a couple of hills. Now he's attacked on the hills. If he's got the legs left to do the same on the next 2 hills, this could very well be his race. This is quite a gap, and I think the gap's actually improving. This is going to be a phenomenal breakaway if he pulls it off. Look at this, 150 metres. I don't think anybody's going to really want to chase this down. This is going to be a phenomenal result. Remember, the winner gets 100 points and second place gets 90 points. So there's actually 10, valuable points in doing this. And I've made the comment earlier. Klaus Varner is pumping out at. Okay, he's at 4.9. That's nearly 5%, and he's doing 30 kph, which is pretty decent. Cadence of 81, but he is going uphill. Heart rate 188. They're putting out 470 watts. This is phenomenal racing by Klaus. It's probably and possibly going to win him the race. Now we're coming up to the yellow banner. The yellow banner is the halfway stage. So this is halfway round lap 2. So it's 3/4 of the race rather than half the race. And with just 7.5 kilometres to go, he's 150 metres ahead. This is an impressive race. Oh, we get the comment from Ned's adversary, Nick Greenhalgh, complaining that he was hoping Ned would be in here tiring himself out racing, but clearly not. Both saving themselves for the big head-to-head that follows this race. What a double bill from ZMS tonight. This has been quite an evening. Well, when I say an evening, I suppose it depends where you're racing from, but here in the UK, in London town, it's certainly the evening, and I suspect most of the Europeans, it's pretty much the same thing. Well, 200 metres. 200 metres now. I think he can win this. I don't think there's anybody in that group who really wants to lead the chase. And this is a pretty strong group, as we've just heard from Ned. And you just look at the names. This is a pedigree bunch. Klaus Varner, all out on his own now. This is Julian Alaphilippe's style, isn't it? This is a crack. I'm sure the Belgians would have liked to see one of their own countrymen doing this in the real version, but as the second best, you're doing it tonight in La Copa. What a performance. 244 metres now. This is shattering. This is shattering the whole. Joris Shepard's pumping out 133 kph. I mean, it's 37 now. It depends on the gradients as to what speed you're going to get naturally. I think there's nobody particularly surging off the front now, so there's nobody in this secondary group that's really looking to break away, and I think this is all getting a bit cagey, which is probably playing into Klaus Varner's hands as we go on descent here. John Sammet there doing a nice little set of figures. There we go, going up again now, and Klaus out of the saddle, pushing away. Okay, it's under 200k distance, but it's not far off. This is going to be a phenomenal result. We salute you, sir, if you can hold this. Just 5.6 kilometres to go, and he's looking strong. Still going uphill. 7.9%. Now the gap is coming down a bit. Daniel Cadiz is pulling it back a little bit, and look how strung out that is on the hill. Now, if people like Daniel Cadiz can attack on the crest of this and get away, then I think you might have a race on. And the gap is not as big as it was. It's down to 180k, but he's just conquered another hill, and he might might be just, well, he's not quite conquered it. If you look at the top right hand corner, still not quite at the summit of this. And the gap at 161 to Daniel Cadiz. But look at that, Daniel Cadiz and G Grinjo are away from the rest of the pack. There's a rider Hellball and French rider beyond at 50. Although it does seem to be coming back together a little bit in the pack, I think there. So I think anything gained on the hill is being. Now you can see in the top right hand corner a couple of riders have dropped off on that hill. So we're probably down to about 17 riders that are in with a shout of podium position. Now Cadiz and Grinjo have separated themselves from the pack and they have a substantial gap now, but still we're looking at Klaus Farner something like 200 metres ahead with 4.7 kilometres to go. Now can Grinjo and Cadiz make it over to Klaus Farner? Now he's been on his own for a long time, but of course they've got two, which is slightly easier, but it's not a whole bunch. I think we might be seeing the podium positions decided. We're just coming up to the 4 kilometre mark, and looking through the teams again. I think we've been through Moon Riders once before, but you can see that jersey they've got on the caption there, the green and white striped. Wouter Clay is very much in what is now Group 3, I suppose, leading it there, and a well-known name on the circuit, one of the stars of RGT. So as I say, I think we've done the Southborough team before. Again, you can see the distinctive yellow jerseys they have. I quite like their kit, actually. I think they're a wonderful club. I don't live in their area, so I'm not a member, but I do like their kit. I'd certainly join if I lived in Kent. The pedallers here, Daniel Milchbauer. I know him quite well. I've raced with him many times. Jez Reed, John Beams, and Kenneth Van Sina. No kit on display there, so I suspect that they don't have a combined kit at this stage. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll get a letter. OTR in the familiar black and white there, James Ogilvie, one of the big stars of the scene, Peter Brook Wavell and Keith Aitchinson. I'm sure there's more OTR riders, but we don't have all the pictures yet. 3 kilometres to go, and it's still Klaus Farner away at the front. Ratio Racing, Nick Greenhalgh not here, as we just saw him post up a little message in response to Ned Bowen. Those two have got the race of the year coming up in approximately 22 minutes. I'm sure they're sitting on their bikes warming up, looking at a screen as we speak. I wish I was there with them. I'm actually organising that race and commentating on it, but I can't ride in it because unlike people like Mike Lister, I can't commentate and ride at the same time. So I've had to forsake my own race tonight, I'm afraid. But I will be there in spirit and I will be there in voice because I'm commentating on it. And it's brought to you by ZMS straight after this. So, don't switch off when this race ends because the excitement of this Bowen and Greenhalgh race is going to be phenomenal. It's 11 laps of Hillingdon Circuit, and Hillingdon Circuit's in West London. It basically is a purpose-built bike racing track. It's just under a mile long, and we do 11 laps, which is equivalent to 12 miles, about 16 kilometres. It has some it's artificial, and it's got some little ramps and small hills built in just to sort of make it exciting with some tight, well, not quite tight bends, but good bends for racing anyway. And as I say, it's purpose built for cycle racing, a very popular track, and we're doing that virtually. It's Klaus Farner now with just 1.9k to go, going over some cobblestones, or paving stones perhaps to be more precise. He is probably home and dry now with 128 metres between him and Daniel Cadiz. Now the gap between Daniel Cadiz, Gringo and Feldball is around 50 metres, but Feldball, remember, is a man who likes to absolutely surge off the front, so I suspect they aren't feeling quite as safe as Klaus Farner is. Let's see. So Beams is certainly going to go. Mind you, he's got 90. The gap is 90 now. So I think I think probably we're going to see Grinjo and Cadiz take the podium steps after this very Alaphilippe but Belgian. This is fantastic. This is, and I'm so pleased for the people of Flanders that they've won a race in Flanders. It's yes, this is phenomenal, and well done to Daniel and Grinjo. I don't know his first name actually, so we'll have to be informed of that. If anybody knows, if you can put a little message up. Daniel, I know. As they head for the Flamme Rouge, and they've got a gap of something like 70 metres. It's reasonably benign. Oh, is that they can see Klaus Farner in front of them? The gap's down to 73 metres, so they've probably made up a bit there. I don't think they're going to catch it though. Or maybe, who knows? Maybe this could be closer than we think. 800 metres to go. We've seen it before. They are going for it. Has Klaus Farner got the legs to keep these two off? 700 metres to go, and he looks over his shoulders for the first time in ages. He's going to see riders behind him. That's metaphorically, of course, because these are avatars, but you get the idea. Oh, Daniel's going for it. They are trying hard. There's no cat and mouse for these two. Oh, and Grinjo, maybe. No, I think Daniel's still got him. He's got his wheel. They're at plus 1.5. There is this slight ramp, 400 metres to go, and oh, I don't think they're going to do it now. The gap is extended to 100 metres, so I think Klaus has got it now. 250 metres and a gap of 130. They're not going to catch. They're not going to catch. And in fact, though, in the chasing him, I think they've extended the gap. You can see John Sammet there is now over 100 metres behind Daniel Cadiz. So I think the podium places are going to go to Klaus Farner, Daniel Cadiz and G. Grinjo. It's a case of which is second and which is third. And there we go. A very, very worthy winner. Well done, sir. And Grinjo is going to go for it. Has Cadiz got anything? No. He can't quite take it. So, an absolutely phenomenal ride. And I think I enjoyed that just as much as Sunday's Alaphilippe show. That was exceptional. So here we go for fourth place. And remember, all these points count. This is a team game, and Brearley coming in fourth position. Fourth position is 75 points. So the winner gets 100 points. Second place, 90 points. Third place, 80 points. Fourth place, 75. Fifth, 70. Sixth, 67. Seventh, 64. It kind of goes down in threes for a while. And then when you get to 50, it starts going down in fives. You can do the maths. I hope somebody else is doing the maths as we see Toffoli, French rider, coming in now. It's 13th place. As I say, I think there was about 19 in that group, but I'm sure a couple have dropped off on the hills. Shepard's coming in now for 14th place. As we see the results coming up there. And Klaus Farner, Grinjo, Daniel Cadiz, Mathieu Dujon and John Sammet, Rasmus Feldball, Heinrich Heibel, Wouter Claes, John Beams, Alex Rockwell, Andrei Krajewski, the Pole who lives in Manchester. So far 11th, but we have got a few more finishers that will appear on your screen pretty soon, I should think. Polak coming in for 18th place. I think there'll be a little bit of a gap before we see the sort of 20th onwards riders. And certainly after 20 there is another 500 metres. Right, some more results up, and it seems Stephen Brearley coming in there in a very respectable 12th place. Now let's have a look at the times. The gap between Klaus Farner and Grinjo is 9 seconds. Daniel Cadiz on his tail. Another 9 seconds back to Mathieu Dujon, John Sammet, Rasmus Feldball, and that little group. And then a small gap back to Heinrich Heibel, Wouter Claes, and John Beams. We're now looking at 1 minute 30 as John Benians comes in from South District Wheelers. That's fantastic, Joe. I'm very impressed with that. Remember, Southborough are an actual club rather than a star, collection of stars put together for virtual racing, and I think that's very commendable. Well done, Joe. Alex Plaisir, the organiser, just pipping him there, 1 minute 30.545 in 15th place for Ratio Racing. And just look how many Ratio Racing riders we've got up there. Okay, they might have had to settle for 10th place with Alex Rockwell, but then Andrei Krajewski coming in at 11th, and then Joris Scheppers at 14th and Alex Plaisir at 15th. So they're 4 scoring riders in the top 15, and that's a strong showing from Razio in race 1. Remember, Razio will be crowned team champions of the West London Series in the race we've got coming up. I think they've got an unassailable lead. However, they have put 4 riders in here, and it may be that with a smaller team, I mean, they've certainly got Nick Greenhalgh and Jan Dekker in the West London race coming up. Jan Dekker, one of the Belgian stars from RGT. Pedro Looney coming in at 19th, John Polak at 18th. I think Ratio, they've only got 2 riders, but they've got 2 very strong riders in the following race. And in the West London Series, the top 2 of your team score. So as long as those 2 finish, Ratio will be crowned champions of the West London Series. And it looks like, subject to the results being collated, that they may well be taking a very strong lead into La Copa from this very first race here in Leuven in Belgium. What a race. Klaus Varner, we salute you. Daniel Cadiz and Grinjo, fine racing too. In fact, anybody that's taken part in this, I think, has done phenomenally well. There's certainly times that I couldn't see myself doing over a race of this distance, but that's perhaps not the greatest compliment they'll get this week. It's been an absolute pleasure watching this, and well done, Alex Plaisir, for putting it all together. We look forward. There's 5 more races in this series, and I'm sure it's going to be just as exciting in every single one. This is RGT. This is the place to race. There's no doubt about it. RGT for me is the best platform. I certainly don't race anywhere else these days. I have done, but I'm absolutely an RGT fan. I think the racing is realistic. I like the people and the community around it, and this Leuven course with its graphics is certainly a step in the right direction for the platform too. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you for a couple of minutes to absorb the results and watch the last few riders come in. I'll be back at 7:25, and don't go away, because the head-to-head between Nick Greenhalgh and Ned Bowen, London versus Chicago, is going to be phenomenal in the next race. I don't quite know how ZMS can operate their drones, but following those 2, it's just going to be so interesting. 11 laps of the highly competitive Hillingdon circuit, a purpose-built cycle racing track with a couple of artificial hills and ramps. We shall see what happens. I'm expecting a bunch sprint, but you never know. The last time we raced on it, Jan Dekker, all people, Ratio Racing, did a strong breakaway, I think just before the last lap, and made it stick and won. That is all coming your way in a few minutes. I'll leave you to absorb the results. See you in a few minutes. Well, welcome to West London, Hillingdon Circuit. It's my home territory. I should really be on my bike in the garage and in this race, but I got asked to commentate on it, and I don't think I've quite got the skills yet to race and commentate at the same time. Now, this is race 3.13 of the West London VR Race Series 3. So Series 3, Race 13. It's absolutely... I couldn't have scripted this, and as the organiser, I have to tell you, I'm delighted with the way this has turned out. I'm not sure Ned Bowen will agree with me, but it did look a few races ago like Ned Bowen was going to win this series. He won Series 2 as well, and it looked like the reigning champion was a shoo-in just to win the third series again. And then a couple of things happened. He had a mishap in one race, and we also threw in a time trial as part of this series, which we hadn't done in the past. And it turned out that Nick Greenhouse from West London, who doesn't actually live too far from Hillingdon, capitalised on this, and with the time he made up in the time trial, and the places he made up in the time trial, and the mishap that cost Ned a few places a couple of races ago, Nick found himself suddenly 1 point ahead of, well, in fact, he was a few points ahead, but then the last race, Ned caught up a bit. And it left us with the very last race with Nick on 1,112 points versus Ned on 1,111 points. So you can accumulate all those points and there's only 1 point in it. Now, you get 100 points for being first, you get 99 for being second, 98 for third, and so on. If you're 100th, you'll get 1 point. If you're 101st onwards, you'll also get 1 point. So everybody gets points. And we do publish on our website the whole listing of all the riders in a series. I think there's something like 230 for tonight's race. I see there's 101 signed up for tonight. You won't get 101 on the start line, but I suspect there's some new riders in there. So, we might be hitting 250 riders over the series. So, right, we're going to have a nice little look at the circuit. Now, this circuit, you can see there's a road just in front of it, a main road that goes over a roundabout. And when they built that road, there's a bridge just on the right of the screen that they didn't build, and they took years. And between that roundabout and where that bridge should have been, there was this nice dual carriageway road, and people started cycle racing down it. And then when they built the bridge and the road opened, the council built this little cycle circuit next to the road for all the cyclists who've been racing on the unfinished road for years. Amongst those was young Bradley Wiggins and a few others. I think Roger Hammond and people like that used to race on here. Now you can see the little bit, it's almost a circle, but the little bit that dips in at the side, that's what we call Omega Bend. And what happens is you go up the hill, so you see where the white dot is. If you go northwards towards the top of your screen, when you hit that bit that goes left, you'll go down into that bend, which is a sort of wide hairpin, and then come back up this sort of artificial hill that they built on the top right-hand side of the course. And that's where the ramp is. It's honestly, it's probably about 15 metres long, but it just goes up at a bit of a gradient that you haven't been experiencing. And caught in the wrong gear or anything like that, this is in real life, it can catch you out. Now, we think the attacks will take place on that ramp. There's 11 laps of this course, and we see 77 riders on the start line here. There's 11 laps on this course, so this is going to get a bit confusing because I think some of the back markers are going to get lapped a few times. But we think over the 11 laps, each little split in the peloton will take place on that ramp. That's what tends to happen. So off they go. Now these start at phenomenal paces, and the last time we raced here, who won it? Jan Dekker. And who's off the front there? Jan Dekker, 11 laps earlier than last time, I'll add. But the starts on these are absolutely phenomenal. You look at that, we're already up to over 40 kilometres in the first sort of 20, I'd say 200 metres. The starts on these are phenomenal, and it does quite often break the pack early on into sort of 2 or 3 groups. Now, one of the rationales behind the way we structure these races as we go up what I call out the haze. In fact, we're going round Omega Bend now. So this is the first attack on the ramp, and you'll see it just coming up ahead of you. I think the graphics don't give it as much emphasis as when you see in real life. This is the ramp right here as you go around that little bend. You can see the gradient just goes up to 3.2% on what is otherwise a flat course. It's very short and sharp, and as soon as you get off it, and this is a point that Mike Lister going off the front there. He's a man who can commentate and ride at the same time. This is where you attack. As you come off that ramp, if you can attack, you get this nice fast downhill towards the long straight, and Mike Lister's taking advantage of that early on, but getting caught up. He's getting caught. So it's a bit early in the race because we're still on lap 1 here, and as we see, a Canadian taking a little bit of spin off the front. Nick Greenhalgh's name already cropping up near the front. I don't think you're going to break Ned yet, Nick. But nevertheless, there is a little group forming off the front of this, and there's a chase on. Ned's a canny rider. Ned will sit in the group, and he is phenomenal at sprints. So, the Hart is the next one to give it a go. We don't actually have cobbles on the real Hillingdon circuit. I can assure you, it's some of the best tarmac you'll ever race on. It's as smooth as you like. So we can see from the aerial shot here, this is showing Portuguese. Oh no, sorry, I'm misreading that. Right, so still D Hart, and you can see Nick Greenhalgh, and you can see one of those green jerseys we were talking about, the green striped jerseys we were talking about earlier in the OTR team. Mike Lister put in a bit of a race here, isn't he? He's a top rider, man from down in Devon there, and he's again one of the little personalities. Well, I say little personalities. He's one of the big personalities we see on the RGT scene, and it is quite a nice, friendly scene. And Nick, I would say Mike's a proper gentleman. I've spoken to him a few times, and he's a proper gentleman, I can tell you. And he's not giving up with these attacks, is he? He's not giving up with these attacks at all. And Francois Iker up there as well, I see. Carlos Sella, the Spaniard, Alistair McAlpine, all up there. Alistair McAlpine, sorry, that's pronunciation. Now we can see that group, and we had 77 starters. We've got 75 still racing. But there's not 75 in that group, so you can see it's already fragmented, and we're probably looking at probably about 25 riders in that. So somehow, maybe a few more, 25 to 30 riders in that little front group. So if we've at least split this into 2, I think, is what's happened so far. And look at the names up there: Matthias Bergfast, Francois Iker. These are top names. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody who's in the last race who's come across this one. Carlos Sella there. Carlos Sella is currently in 4th place in this series, and could well find himself on the podium if James Melville doesn't have a good race. We shall see. So it's between James Melville and Carlos Sella. James Melville from Glasgow United Cycling Club up there in Glasgow. Now this is strung out. This is unusual. This is unusual for this course. But again, let's remind ourselves that last time Jan Decker. Now we're already coming up to lap the first person. I don't know who we were about to lap, but the lapped person weren't sharp on the chart on your left. Maybe the name will flash up. I don't know. Oh, we're going to lap 2 people. So already in this race, in lap 2, I think we're on. We've started lapping back markers. This is not uncommon. These races are for everybody, and we quite like the idea that it splits up into little groups, because you get a natural selection. You find yourself in a group of your own sort of kind of talent and ability, and you can have races with your peers rather than the faster guys or slower guys, depending on which one you are. D Hart is making a name for himself on the front here. He's had several attacks, and this is quite impressive. Got Wouter Claes behind. Wouter Claes was in the last race. What a man. I see Johan Olofsson is up there, the New Zealand, well, the South African New Zealander. Not which way shall we do it? Doug Hart here. He's digging hard. There's a joke there somewhere. 42 kph, and he's putting in cadence of 92, 324 watts of power, and he's ahead of the group quite comfortably. I've got a feeling that that group's large enough to pull him back. But if they don't watch out, I think they're coming back already. Be interesting to see who's in that group. Let's have a look. Peter Austin, I see in there. Matthias Bergfest, Carlos Sella, Tom Gakes from the Netherlands. He's one of the big international riders you've seen. Nick Greenhalgh, as you'd expect, and Ned Bowen's names cropping up in there, and that's what we want to see. These are the two that are going to have to tough it out in the later laps. So we're about 5k into the race, 11k remaining. So we're about a third of the way through the race, and we've certainly got a split peloton. We're expecting a bunch sprint. It's just how big the bunch is. Now, given that the ramps and the hills aren't particularly tough on this artificial course, they're artificial hills on this purpose-built course, and they're not. As you can see, they only go up to about 3 or 4%. I think these attacks are, just designed to sort of, give some attrition. Christophe Quentin, a man down there from the Rhone Valley, Clermont-Ferrand in France, looking at 380 watts, 82 cadence, 163 heart rate. So he won the OTR, guys. It's Francois Arquet from Belgium. One of the Loon Belgians. We were privileged to be racing, of course, in Flanders, and he's at 41 kph, leading the front group with 97 cadence, 160 heart rate, 291 watts. And it's how long you can maintain all of this. I mean, we see in the sprints the phenomenal amount of watts put out in sprints and certain attacks on hills. Salmon from Deutschland is the next to go in the pink jersey. That's usually the one I wear, and usually I'm the only one in the race wearing that one, so I can identify myself in the film footage. But he's just taking my place. You don't usually see that pink jersey in the front group like this. Yeah, Henry Benotse, South African New Zealand. He's another one who likes to attack. He comes in part of the South African New Zealand package, along with Johan Olofsson, who lap another back marker. Back markers are more than welcome in our races. We don't have any problem with people who want to just race and get round. And in fact, we do offer is a 21 Dun Club badge, and if you do 21 of these races, we will send you a little badge to show that you did it. So there's plenty of people who come in here. It's their first taste of racing, and it's their chance to go around Omega Bend again and come up to the ramp in a second. So this is the ramp to see if anything happens in this group here. This is a strong group, and you'd expect riders to be able to hold on a bit better than we saw in the first group. But you already see one person just on that ramp gets caught out a little bit, holds on enough. Oh, and you see that there are splits over that ramp, and it's whether or not you get back on here. And this is why, if the leaders attack at that point, people may not get back on, and you can split the group again. There is a split in that group. Whether or not it sticks or not, we shall see. The drone camera is not quite giving us the clear aerial picture. Carlos Sella out the front there. Carlos Sella, I remember him having a phenomenal win in one of these races where we finished at Ruislip Lido. It was one of the best finishes we've ever seen. So I can't quite tell whether there was any drop-offs from that group. It looks fairly sizable. Remember, I think there's a couple of people at the front who are not in this group. These are back markers that we're beginning to overtake. We're coming up to 7.5 kilometres done. Kevin Unsworth in 36th position. Thomas Alsop. Kader Aluni. Was Kader in the last race? He's certainly racing for one of the teams in there. Mike Adey. Well, I think it's Daniel Fasenko, I might be wrong. And Murray, sorry, I don't know your first name. These are all back markers. 42. Remember, 42, there are 75 on the race. You're midway at 42nd in this race. Thomas Nygren there. Tim Cummins, who lives down the road from me in the Westerly Purple there, making up part of that group. Daniel Neubauer from Germany, who was in the last race, I think, or certainly in one of the teams from the last race. Julian Fussell, who again is in one of the teams from the La Copa. Yes, Bellio from the USA. David Buckley, who helped me out with the results on this. In fact, David Buckley is going to become a leader wherever he finishes today, because there was only 2 of us that have ridden every single West London VR race, and because I'm not in this one, David is now the clear leader and the longest running rider in these series. In fact, he did win the first series as well. But he'll often tell you in the early races, when we first started off, he was sort of there, and the some of the riders who came on to sort of become the dominant riders hadn't quite sort of joined up and caught on to what we were doing yet. So I think David's going to be very proud and honoured owner of the trophy. But we do send out trophies to the winners of the series, both the teams and individuals, and they're all on order. I'm expecting those to arrive in the next few days, and they will be posted out. Well, certainly Nick and Ned will be getting prizes, because whatever happens, they'll finish first and second, I think. And then it's a case of whether it's Carlos Sella or James Melville for the third prize. And I will be sending trophies out to the winning team, which will be Ratio Racing. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, they would have to both have Titanicals for that to happen. Ward Simon's now pushing out at the front, Belgian. It's really Simons, I would guess. But Ward Simons pushing out. James Melville, the man who needs to get a good result to make sure he gets that third podium slot and another trophy for his cabinet. Say Glasgow United is his team, and there's a couple of them ride for Glasgow United, and they always finish in the top 20 or so. James particularly, and very commendable. Jurgen van Ber from the Netherlands is the next to give it a push. Ratio Racing star, and I'm sure they're going to be delighted with their trophies when they get posted out to them. Little nudges on the front there, and never getting quite away. Tom Gakes there, who famously his chain came off during one of these races, and he got on and rode all the way back. I mean, what a star! And that is just such a good attitude. Tom is, one of the stars of international racing. He is a top virtual racer, and we're very pleased to have him on board as part of these races. Again, somebody else pushing for that. It's Doug Hart again, giving it another go. It's not a bad idea to do this, because if the peloton do sit around looking at each other, and bear in mind that I would imagine that Nick and Ned are probably looking at each other more than anybody else. Now that is a sizable little gap. That is not bad. That is not bad. 6.4k to go is probably hard to hold. But as I say, the last time we had a race on here, Jan Decker won it by a mile, just like this, although he did start his solo effort a lot later in the race. I mean, a gap of about 75 metres towards Simons, Johan Olofssi, Christophe Martin amongst the group. I think the group is going to push and catch here. Ward Simons is pulling away from the group, actually. So, wow. Doug Hart, 37 kph. You can see Ward Simons just caught in no man's land, not quite catching Doug, and the peloton probably sneaking up on him, which will probably be a good thing, because it will make it a lot easier for him to catch Doug. James Melville has broken away from the peloton, so maybe the peloton aren't going to do this, and maybe we can get a little group of 3 going off the front. That would be interesting. James just caught up with Ward there. Doug Hart's within view, but elusively staying just out of reach for these guys. The peloton's here now. And Hartveld, another Dutchman from the Netherlands, getting up to Doug. So Doug's little foray is over. So it's Wout Hartveld takes the lead. Doug doesn't want the respite of his wheel. He's quite happy to go on the front. Gives him a wave, and I think he's suggesting they work together in that little wave. If you haven't done RGT before, there's a little button where you can press on your phone that allows you to wave at people, and people do it. I'm far too out of breath and focused on other things to ever do that when I'm racing. Estubut from Canada in 4th place, probably not anymore because the pack has been shuffled a little bit. He's currently at 44 kph. These are not bad speeds, and you can do this. Jan Dekker tucked in, Jurgen van Berg, Salman, Beck. What are we looking at? Probably around 20-25 riders in that group, and remember we've got a couple off the front. Yeah, you can see the gap there. So we're up to 30 riders before a huge 500-meter gap back to the group behind, which includes Andrew Beale from Ealing. Yeah, so probably about 30 riders in the front group. We've still got 75 riding. It says 45 behind. Doug Hart and Ward Simmons. It's not Ward Simmons, is it? That's Wout Hartveld, isn't it? So Ward Simons is, yeah, he's back in 5th. So yeah, it's Wout Hartveld and Doug Hart now. Mike Lister giving it another go. The man from Devon piling on the pressure. 40 kph, 735 watts of power. I think he's going to make it to the 2. Fantastic racing, Mike. This is great stuff as we pass another back marker. So the back markers are fantastic. They all enjoy it. They don't mind where they finish. They just enjoy being part of it. And sometimes you get the races between the last people in the pack. Nick Greenhalgh has stolen a march here, has he? Where's Ned Bowen? That's the big question. And Ned's a canny rider. He will sit in the pack and save energy. I'm not seeing him down the list. Something going... I'm not sure where. Oh no, he's 14th. Yeah, so Ned sits in the pack. He tucks away. He suddenly comes to the fore in the sprint finishes. He is the man for sprint finishes. There's no doubt about it. So I think he's got to keep an eye on Nick. And if Nick can get away and get into little groups ahead of him, I think Nick might steal the series. I say steal the series. He's the current leader. So Doug Hart and Wout Hartveld. Henry Notesy, South Africa, New Zealand, Johann's mate, is up with them now. If you're going to see more and more people get across, Andre, they're pumping out 39 kph, 300 watts. I think if people are getting across more and more, this probably means that this breakaway is doomed. 2.6 kilometers to go. You know, just under 2 laps. Well, we shall see. The gap's not too bad, though, is it? This could happen. And Ward Simmons is having another go. He's having another go. There's about a 20-meter gap to that group. I don't think that's going to hold over just under 2 laps, and people are making it across. So that's that. And James Melville up there is making sure that he holds on to that 3rd place in the red and white GCN kits. The Glasgow United riders, their home kit for their club is blue, but in these races they wear the GCN kit. Now look, this is where we catch up with the back group. Now what you've got to be careful here is, if you're riding with the front group, making sure that as the front group goes through, you don't sort of sit on the wheel of somebody in the back group and suddenly feel find you're following the wrong rider. But the other thing that is really, really good about those back groups is they have their own little mini races between themselves. And that's why we don't grade the race. We just find that people will find their own natural groups. You get dropped off by the front group. Sooner or later, the group behind will catch you up. You get involved in that and you race with them. It's a natural selection thing rather than the grading thing. So here we come. This is the final lap. This is where Series 3 is going to be decided. The names to watch: Ned Bowen and Nick Greenhalgh. Now, Ned's going to tuck himself away. We know that. I think Nick might have a little go. But he needs to ensure that Ned doesn't beat him by more than one place. Ned's the sprint finisher. So I think Nick might well have a little go before the end and see if he can't sort of just break away. I don't know. I mean, he didn't tell me when I interviewed him, and why would he? Well, this is going to be... So the Polish rider, Krzyzewski Andrzej, who's actually just been in the other race as well. So fair play to Andrzej to be at the front of this race after having just done La Copa. Incidentally, if you were watching earlier, the team results are still being collated for La Copa. We've shown the individual results, but we haven't collated them for the team yet. Those will be published in due course. I'm sure Alex Plager will put them up on Facebook. As John Sammet takes a little lead on the front, we see some Ratio Racing riders coming up. Now, this is Ratio as a team. Now, Nick Greenhalgh rides for Ratio, and this could be a Ratio tactic to take Nick Greenhalgh on the front. If Ratio actually dominate the front here and work as a team, this is what I sort of predicted here, isn't it? 470 metres to go, and Nick Greenhalgh... Oh, Tom Gates has gone for it as well. Now, Tom is a strong rider. Johanna, let's see. Now, where's Ned? Ned is 10th, 15. Ned is 20 metres behind. Oh, now Ned is a fantastic sprinter, but Nick's got 20 metres on him now. Tom Gates is going to take the race, I think. Now, Tom is a phenomenal rider as he comes home. Fantastic, doing it for the Netherlands. And Nick Greenhalgh is going to do it. Nick Greenhalgh has done it. He's beaten Ned. He has won the series. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I didn't see it. We'll just double check that Ned didn't come through there, but I thought I saw Nick coming through. We'll just confirm that if we can have a look at the front finishing places, because I didn't see Ned's name popping up in that group, but I could be wrong yet. No, Nick Greenhalgh 3rd and Ned 10th. Nick Greenhalgh has done it. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Nick Greenhalgh and Ratio Racing are dominant in Series 3. Absolutely phenomenal. Jim Melville has taken 4th, so he's definitely got 3rd place in the series. So the top 3 in the series will be Nick Greenhalgh, absolutely phenomenal. I'll bring the prizes over, Nick, because you live near me, and you can buy me a beer as well. Oh, no, I'll buy you a beer. And Jim Melville, I'm not delivering yours because you live in Glasgow, but I'll definitely post them up to you. And Ned, as you know, I've sent you enough stuff over the years. There's another one on the way to you. Phenomenal. What a series this has been. And let's look at the top 10. Tom Gates, an absolute star. Askew, what a phenomenal finish, coming in 2nd. Nick Greenhalgh pinching 3rd ahead of James Melville. Johan Olofssi, who's been such a great contributor. Doug Hart, John Sammet, Andre Gnetzi, Ned Bowen, Francois Ike, and Jan Decker. Well, if that isn't a star lineup, I don't know what is. We are privileged. And here are the official results. Ward Simons in 20th, or Ward Simmons, I think it is. Some phenomenal attacks. Carlos Sella, who has lit this series up along the way, has been phenomenal. Christophe, I think that might be Christophe Quentin. Alistair McAlpine, Sean Murtagh, Andrzej Krzyzewski, who I know quite well. Alex Rockwell, who was in the last race as well for Ratio. Phenomenal turnout by Ratio. Wout Hartveld, who lit up parts of the race. Jan Decker, a superstar in this. Francois Ake, well, he's a star as well. I love him. Ned Bowen, well, what a hero. I mean, you've got to commiserate with him for coming 2nd because he did have some bad luck. But in the end, when it mattered, Nick Greenhalgh put in a superb race. Andre Gnetzi, who's lit up so many races in Wouter Clays, another one who lights up races in the star. John Sammer, thanks very much for your contributions, John. You know what I'm talking about. You've been phenomenal in this. Doug Hart, I don't know you so well, Doug, but you were phenomenal in this race, and I hope to see you in some future races. Series 4 starts in 2 weeks' time. Doug, please be part of them, because the way you light up the race is really, really good. Just the way that Johan Holossi does. He's finished in 5th tremendously. James Melville, 4th. Nick Greenhouse with that series-winning 3rd. Miles Askew, well, that's great. I'm hoping to see a bit more of you. I know you've been in some races, Miles, and I hope to see a bit more of you in Series 4 as well. Tom Gates, another gentleman from the Netherlands, and a proper gentleman too, a star racer across virtual racing, and a very worthy winner in the concluding race of this series. Just a quick look at the times. We're talking 16 odd kilometres, 23 minutes. I think we might have done it faster in the past, but that's still good racing. In real life, the top race, when we have, say, a 10-mile TT on this course, you will get the top riders slightly faster than that. So I think there were some cagey moments in this one, but that's still a good time. I mean, I've never ever done anything like 23 on a Hillingdon circuit in real life, that's for sure. So congratulations to everybody. Nick will obviously meet up, and I shall give you a bag full of awards, because I've got all the Ratio trophies for individual Ratio trophies for you, as well as your own. Ned, it'll be in the post, as you know, and James, well, you keep winning. It's the same people, isn't it? But they are worthy winners and absolute heroes of this. I thank you very much to ZMS for broadcasting this. Damon Bates, you've done a fantastic job. A quick hello to Mike Lister as well, and thank you very much for racing. Thank you very much for racing, everybody. Series 4 is starting in 2 weeks' time, and we've got an extra competition. We're going to have the general classification, where all your points from all your races count. But we do realise that some people have to miss a race here and there. So we're doing a second one, which we think of as like the green jersey competition, where your best 6 results will count. So there'll be the general classification, and then a secondary competition, which takes your best 6 results, and everybody will be ranked according to their best 6 results, which means that somebody who might have only done, say, 8 out of the 13 races could actually still win a prize. So all to play for. Series 4 is looking phenomenal. A variety of courses, probably a little bit more choppy and hillier than some of the ones we did this summer. This is a relatively flat series, but nothing too hard. It's still going to be going over the lumps like the ramp here today at race speed. And we can still see one person out there on the course. I'm not sure how many are still out on the course actually. Just going up the ramp now, so it will slow down, and you can see the little avatar slowing down as it goes up the ramp out of Omega Bend. And we do, as I say, we applaud this. And what's phenomenal as well, if you actually race these races, quite a few riders just sit on their bikes at the end with RGT still on, and we all put out little messages cheering on the back markers to encourage them to finish. And for some people who are new to cycling, new to RGT, yeah, just getting around some of these races and being part of it and getting all that encouragement lights up their evening. So thank you very much to the community who've raced in these and contributed to all that fun. The banter at the start, the banter at the end, the encouragement for the back markers, the phenomenal racing at the front, and ZMS for broadcasting it. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. We're coming up to 8 o'clock in UK time. It's probably time for me to say goodnight, and for you on a bike to have a shower. And for those of you just watching, I'm sure you're going to go away and talk about Nick Greenhouse's fantastic performance to Pip Ned in that final race. See you soon, Series 4 in 2 weeks' time.